Okay, so he can come back if he's okay with that.
Couple together, please. And watch. Let's see that big smile. Let's see that smile. There you go. There you go. There you go. There we go. There it is. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, let's go.
Very good. Very good.
It's now my great pleasure to welcome the cast of the film Looper,
Argo, Spring Breakers,
Cloud Atlas,
Hotel Transylvania.
Silver Linings Playbook.
It just feels like a real film festival for the community.
It's very exciting for me to be here to support a film.
I wanted to show Toronto the way I experience it.
We want people to like our movies and understand them.
What makes it really special for me is the fact that audiences have responded the way they have.
If I got lucky in the first two, this was the lottery.
I feel like I hit the jackpot. I mean, I can't believe that I'm sitting at a table, you know, flanked by these people.
Every producer I've ever worked with is in that character. And a couple I invented.
You have to be faithful to what they really were.
But I certainly wouldn't, deign to think that we are godfathering anything.
I do.
And that's why he's got the beard.
First nice thing the press have ever done.
I was really happy to find out this is where we were coming.
I said, I'm in.
The festival loved the people who live here.
That was amazing.
Our moderator for today is Henri Behar, and it is now my pleasure to welcome the director, producer, and cast for the film Blood Ties. Thank you.
Hello everyone, bonjour, and welcome to the press conference for Blood Ties. With us today, producer Alain Attal, hello. Actress Marion Cotillard as Monica, and the director Guillaume Canet.
Hello.
And I think I will throw the first question at you, Monsieur Canet. This is a remake of a film that you acted in. Doing the transition from acting into directing on the same project, was it something that you feared or looked forward with delight?
About remaking it?
Yes.
No, because I think if I would have felt fear, I would have changed my mind and do something else. No, I was quite excited because that was the first time that I was reading a script when I did the film as an actor. That was the first time that I was reading a script, and then I was excited about it. As a director, I really wanted to direct that film, and finally I did the film as an actor, and I really enjoyed it. And it's only several years later, when I had several opportunities to make a movie in the United States, that I thought about this project, because I wanted to come with a project that I could really control, and I wanted to make a movie. I didn't want to do a really big movie, studio movie with a lot of producer behind my back telling me what to do, and that's how I ended up thinking about this project, and I thought that it would be because before being a film in France, it's based on a true story of the story of Bruno and Michel Papé that I met, and I spent a lot of time with them, and I realized that placing that story in the 70s in Brooklyn would be exactly what was exciting me, because I grew up with a certain kind of cinema, which is the cinema of the 70s in the United States, like Sam Peckinpah, Jerry Schatzberg, Sidney Lumet, and I always been very excited about making a movie of that genre,
And you did want to make it in English.
Sorry?
And you did want to make it in English?
Yes, of course, yes.
Now, Monsieur Attal, you almost, I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, the first English-speaking movie that you produce.
Correct.
And you almost did not get on the project.
I was not supposed to be in because, you know, the original story was produced by another company, but I think Guillaume and me were speaking about the project, and I was interested in, but it was not, you know, my role to be with him. And when there is some problems that born around a big studio that wanted to have definitive answers from the cast for putting money on the table, Guillaume calls me and say, Alain, it's going to be a little bit difficult, but perhaps if we are, like always, together on the boat, and even if there is some problem, we're going to fight against, and we're going to really go in the good direction together, perhaps it will be better. So I asked the two production company that was the owner of the project, and they say yes, okay. So it was my destiny not to follow him in this project, but I think our destiny is a little bit bizarre, you know, and it's a reason why I'm in.
Now, and then we'll take questions from the floor. Marion Cotillard, of course, we know you've made films both in French and in English and in Polish, but let's not get into that. You're perhaps more used than Guillaume Canet in acting in English. This is almost your second film where you have to speak English, the first being Jerry Schatzberg's film.
Yeah, but I'm not acting in this one.
No, you're not acting in this one, you had to direct it.
Yeah, in English, yes. Yeah.
So, how is it, is directing in English completely different from the way you direct in French?
Not really. I mean, except the vocabulary and being able to be understood by the actors. It's not that easy. I think I have a problem in French is that I'm speaking too much. So maybe it helped me a little bit on the set because I couldn't speak that much in English because I didn't have that much words. So
no.
So it was easier for the actors.
That's nice, but on the day-to-day basis.
No, of course sometimes it's very difficult because when you get tired, you know, the language barrier make it more difficult, you know, because sometimes when you get tired it's difficult to find the right words and to find the right sense of what you want to say, you know, and so and also the difference of culture, of way of working and everything. So yeah, it was different, but it was like I'm saying a lot, this movie is my fourth film, but I really had the feeling sometimes that I was doing my first film, and I really enjoyed that because I just before I did this film, my third film was Little White Lies, and it was a really big movie. I mean, in France, that worked a lot and made well, and I'm very happy to have made this decision of making this film, who was more complicated, and I had the feeling to go backwards a little bit and to learn again. And I think it's what we like about making films is always to learn and to experience things.
Sorry to belabor the point, and then we'll get to you. The rhythms of English and French are completely different in terms of, and does that alter, and this is a question that's also addressed to you, Marion, does that change the way you move when you act in English vis-à-vis the way you move when you act in French?
The
the rhythm and the way you move belongs to the character. So you cannot really compare working in French or working in English, or as you cannot really compare working in one English movie and another, because it's going to be totally different, because the character is different and the body language is going to be different. Of course, working in English for me, it's a lot of work, especially that usually I have accents, like in this one. I have this kind of Italian Brooklyn accent from the 70s. But it's really interesting, and it really helps you to get in the character. But doing it in Brooklyn Italian accent in the 70s is totally different, for example, to do a Polish accent in New York in the 20s, and the body language is totally different, but it's both movies are in English. You know what I mean?
Question here, then here, then here, then here. Yay. Ma'am.
Barbara Dudinska from Slovak News Agency. Congratulations on the movie. I have a question for Marion. For those who haven't seen the movies, can you introduce us your character of Monica, and what did you like the most about her? Thank you.
When I read the script, I was deeply touched by this character. She's a mother. She's a woman in love, but left aside because the man she loves doesn't really love her back the way she would like him to love her. When we start the movie, he's out of jail and he was inside for 9 years. 9, yeah. And she's also a hooker and a drug addict. But she's
nice girl.
She's trying to survive, and she's trying to have the best life she can offer to her kids. So in that way, she's very moving. She's struggling for a better life for her kids.
Question here, then here. Go ahead, sir.
Frank from Mondadori, France. Question for both of you. Taking on the role of a call girl, a prostitute, is always strong roles, delicate roles, and there's a sense of responsibility to portray a role like this, I think. So I was wondering, did you guys discuss, was there some limits, places you didn't want her to go?
About sorry?
About the, portraying a call girl. I mean, was there like limits in the way she was going to portray this character, places you didn't want her to go or you didn't want to go?
No, well, what was in the script was a really beautiful and touching character, strong. And of course, she carries this huge failure that is part of her life. But how it was written was, I mean, I was okay with, I didn't have to, do crazy naked stuff, something like that. So I agreed on everything that was written there. And
not only physically.
Oh, emotionally.
Right.
Oh, well, I would have gone wherever Guillaume wanted me to go.
Now, the most important thing for me was to show a woman, and not especially a hooker or a mother, or the situation. I really believe in situations in cinema. The situation explains everything. And this woman, like Marion was saying, is struggling in her life. But what I felt beautiful in that character is that she, no matter what happened in her life, she's crazy about this man, about crazy in love, about this man, about Clive's character, and the fact that sometimes, you have those scenes where she turned her back to him, and then when he's get injured, he's coming to see her at night to be fixed, and she's there for him, and she will always be there for him, and it's like a yo-yo, She's always believing that he's gonna come back and he's gonna give her what she wants, actually, but she's just lost I think it's just a lost woman who tried to believe in something pure, but the life into that Clive's character put her into is so difficult to get out once you're there, and what was very important for me is to show that woman with a lot of respect, and that's the reason why that was important for me to believe in her as a mother, as a loving mother, when she's at home with her kids and everything. And once she gets into the nightclub and we see her working, she's suddenly totally another character. And that was very important for me, is to believe in this character.
Question here,
yes.
then here.
Good morning, Bruce Kirkland from the Toronto Sun Media. And some actors have described to me that a relationship between a director and an actor is like a love affair, but with different complications. And I'm curious, because you have worked together before, what that brings to a new project, especially one where you're shooting in a different country, in a different language, and how your relationship works for that purpose, and if it was an advantage for the director and the actress to have that background.
Do you want me? Should I
go
answer
ahead.
first?
Yeah.
Personally, I think it's an advantage only for the director.
No, that's not true.
And
but go ahead.
Not at all for and not at all for the actress, because I mean, it's very difficult when you're an actress and you're working on a set and you go back home at night. You don't want to have, and you don't want to hear all the director's problem that he had all day long and how he's going to deal with the problem of the day after. So for this, I think it's very difficult for the actress, because the director always needs to be supported. It's always difficult also because most of the time, I don't know for the other directors, but they don't want to express too much their admiration and love for their partner. So on the set, maybe unconsciously they are less
open to compliments.
Exactly. Open to compliments, because they don't want a crew to think that, oh, because it's his partner, he's very nice to her and everything. So maybe sometimes it can be more difficult, you know. But that's for my point of view. But on the other hand, I think there's something really, really important and magical when you shoot a movie with someone that you with your partner, is the trust, the question of trust. And even though I think a lot of directors who has worked with Marion know that Marion has something extraordinary in her way of working, is that she's very generous, and once she's committed into a movie, she's trusting the director no matter what, and she won't ask herself any bad questions about how I'm gonna look, how I'm gonna be, how what takes is gonna edit, or you see those kind of questions that sometimes an actor can ask themselves and make them less generous on the set. And the fact that Marion is that generous naturally with the other directors, with me, it was even more, because she knew that she would give everything, and trusting me because she knows me, and she knows that, you know, I don't want to disappoint her, and I don't want to make her in a weird situation. So for me, that's a huge gift to have this complicity with the actors.
Marion?
Well, of course, the trust is very important between an actor and a director, and I trust Guillaume 200%. About the background, I mean backstage. Sorry. Well, he was always fair. Don't believe what he said about being more you know,
harsher.
No, no, but he really was always fair. Yeah, the difficulty of having your partner working on a set, and it's hard to explain. I really want him to be happy with everything he wants, and sometimes when it doesn't work, and it's not. I'm not talking about me acting and giving him what he wants. I would do anything for him to get what he wants, but the general things that happen on a set when he's not happy, it touches me deeply, and but it's really, really interesting to be in the life of someone who's in a creative process, even though sometimes it's really hard to live. I would say sometimes it's heaven, sometimes it's hell. But being supportive, because I know that this creative process is very intense. You really open your mind, your heart, and your soul to what you're gonna create and what you're gonna give to your actors, to your crew, and eventually to the audience. It's really interesting to watch closely, and I've always been very impressed to watch him working with actors and with his crew.
Question here.
Hi, Juan Carlos Garcia from Mexico. For Marion, becoming a mother makes you more sensitive about this kind of characters, like this role. And well, the last time that I talked to you 1 year ago, I just said about the case of Florence que says that you were expecting that she would be released. Right now, she's free. What do you think about it?
Well, that was one of the most beautiful things that happened. This year, actually, it was in January, yeah. I'm so happy she's free. I'm so happy to be able to hug her. I'm so happy that I was able to go to her wedding and to see the freedom be free.
Sir, then sir. Go ahead.
I'm Mario Siki from Mexico also. Marion, walking New York, and also for the director, and recreating a story that happened in the 70s. I suppose you are a fan or you love the movies of Martin Scorsese, Woody Allen, Frankenheimer. How was for you dressing as the 70s character, walking in that New York and recreating that era?
I was very excited to explore this period of time because I had explored the 20s, the 40s, the 30s, the 40s, 50s, 60s, even the 80s, 90s, and of course contemporary period, but never the 70s. And I really loved.
That's the reason why I picked up the 70s, to be sure she would accept.
I would have done anything. But no, there's a special groove to the 70s. And I loved working on the very specific body language that really also comes from what they wore. And of course, the period of time and the way people wanted to set themselves free of all the constrictions, you know, that they had lived in for years. So there's a very special energy in the bodies at that time that I loved to experience and to explore.
Sir, then the person over there.
Fabian Wental for Latin America. I have a question for Marion. Since you're working with your partner and France is known as the most romantic country in the world, I wonder what is the truth about that and how do you keep the romanticism at home when there is a blood tie at work?
No, I cannot answer this question. I mean, we never talk about our personal life because this is something I don't.
But you can just say that I'm very romantic at home too.
I could, which is true actually. But I mean, I'd rather talk about the way we work together. I'm very uncomfortable with talking about ourselves that way.
Well, that's a big subject.
Yeah, well, yeah, it must be. It's not always true, but there's, a country and a city carry the past, of course, and all the periods of a great creativity, and the romanticism was a very strong period, and so we still carry it in a different, more modern way, I would say. But I think French, and especially Parisians, like to have this image of a romantic city and romantic people, and that we kind of cherish this and keep it going. And Paris can be very romantic.
Back to the film, thank you, love. The question, there's one person who is not here with us today, but who's very much on screen, and that's James Gray, who is both your co-script writer and executive producer, I think, at least is credited as such. How did you and James Gray come together?
I met James Gray in Paris, and we had lunch, and we became quite close quickly. I mean, we got on well, and a few months later, I was in the Cannes Festival where I was at the jury, and I talked to him about this project that I had in mind, and I asked him if he had any idea of American writer who could help me on the dialogues and on the adaptation of certain situations that I wanted to be realistic, and then he told me. He said that he would be ready to do so, to do it, and so I was really surprised because that was not he's not really used to do that. Most of the time, I think it's the first time actually that he's writing for someone else, and so I was really proud and very happy that he accepted to work with me, and he came to Paris for around 3 weeks. We worked on the structure and on the story itself, and then I saw him 1 week again in LA after that, and then he started his own film, so he was not really available anymore. So I had to finish the script on my own. But the collaboration with him was very interesting because he is a New Yorker. He grew up in Flatbush, Brooklyn. He knows all those all this area, and so he knows all the details, and so that was very inspiring for me. And of course his cinema, because his cinema is really close from the cinema I was talking about, the Jerry Schatzberg, the Cassavetes, and all those great, amazing director that I grew up with.
Did he help you or advise you in casting Clive Owen and
No.
Billy Crudup?
No, he helped me with James Caan, with Jimmy Caan. He was very nice to call Jimmy Caan and to introduce me to him. And but no, Clive, I had the wonderful help from another great director who is Alfonso Cuarón, who is a really good friend of mine, and thanks to him I had the opportunity to talk with Clive.
And Billy Crudup?
And Billy Crudup is
That That was your idea.
Yeah, that was plenty of persons' idea. There was Mario who shot with him. There was Hilda Quilly who is here too from CAA. There was plenty of little voices at that time when I was struggling to see and to know who was the good person. And suddenly there was a good coincidence of him being in New York, me too, and Marion who knew him and everything, and casting. I always say that to cast an actor, it's really important to know that this role will be something important for him, for the actors or for the actress, and it would be something, yes, very, very important and very passionate. And as soon as I met Billy, I understood that he really wanted that role, and he would, you know, as we say, kill it. We'd say that, yeah, kill it.
Bob Altman used to say that once he's done the right casting, 90% of his job as a director is done. Would you agree?
I totally agree, with a good script.
True. Question, go ahead.
Yeah, Andy Deliana, Digital Tirana, Albania. My question is for the director, Monsieur Guillaume Canet. Français, anglais? No problem.
English for the other, maybe.
English, all right. My question is, all these characters, most of them are big egos, big actors, big backgrounds, coming from England, United States, France, everywhere. How did you put them in one bucket, and how was it for you?
There were many things that made that film like this. First of all, the movie takes place in New York, and as you know, New York is a really cosmopolitan city with a lot of nationality and a lot of people coming from all over the world, and especially in that period of time, and not only at that period of time, but at that period of time also. And we didn't have that. I mean, we had a few problems financing the movie. It was not that easy. And when Alan came on board and helped me on the movie, we had the obligation of doing a movie with European, money. So for that reason, I was obliged to cast also some European actors and actresses, and that was very fine with me for the reason I told you about the cosmopolitan side of the city, and also because there are so many actors and actresses that I wanted to work with, but I wanted to have a complicity with them. I wanted it to be easy for me. For my first movie in English, I wanted to be sure that I would be surrounded by people who knew a little bit my work. And for example, Clive, Tell No One, which is my second movie, worked a lot in UK. And he knew my work, and for Matthias Schonard, that was the same. It was easier for me to know that I would have this complicity with those. So that's the reason why I tried my best to be surrounded by people who would trust me and who would know me a little bit, because otherwise. I didn't want to end up with like a big Hollywood cast and being totally lost and very not impressed, because I was impressed by the actors, but being a little lost. I don't know if you understand what I mean. Yeah. Not harder. No, it's the same. They are actors, and they are. No, that's not. No, they can be British or Italian, or doesn't change anything. You have some really easy American actors and some very difficult American actors, and you have some easy French actors and some very difficult French actors. So it's just a question of human being.
Question over there.
Mila Kanev, Mix TV. Question from Marion. You're superb in every role you did. I'm wondering how was preparation for that particular role, Italian and 70s Brooklyn Italian, was different from the preparations from your other films, and did you have any challenges on a set and with this role?
Well, accent is always a challenge. My challenge here was speaking Italian, because I had tried to learn Italian for another movie. Not that I had to speak Italian in this movie, but it was 9, the Rob Marshall's movie. And because she was half French, half Italian, I wanted to learn a little bit of Italian, and I failed. It was kind of dramatic for me to fail, but I didn't have to speak Italian in the movie, so it was not like a major public failure. But, and I was the one who had the idea of Monica being Italian, and again, the idea of Monica speaking Italian. But then I started to think about it after the idea was shared and agreed, and we agreed on the idea being a good idea. It took me, the amount of time it took me to learn 4 lines in Italian was the same amount of time it took me to learn 20 pages in Polish. That's how I mean, I'm really not good at Italian, but so that was a technical challenge. It's always a technical challenge. I mean, a challenge is always on the technical aspect, because the emotional aspect you just gotta search inside and out of yourself to find who the character is, how the soul and heart is from what the soul and heart is made of, and but at the same time, which is one thing that is really interesting and that I experienced several times, is that I understood when I work on an accent, what I understood very early on when I started to work in English with accents is that if you don't dive in the culture, Italian, Polish, American, if you will never have the accent right, because the way of thinking and the culture of a country has an impact on the way they speak. So working on an accent is really interesting, because you gotta learn a lot about another culture, and of course it opens you learn more and more about human beings, and that's why I'm doing this job, I guess. It's to understand a little more each time about the fascinating animals that we are.
Now, the film world premiered in Cannes, but it met last night its first Anglo-North American audience. You were there, jet-lagged as you may have been. How was it? Was it different? Did you have the feeling that they perceived stuff that the French or the Europeans had not perceived, and on the other side, that they reacted differently?
Yeah, that was different for many reasons. The first one is that in Cannes, I lived something very difficult for me, is that showing a movie, is always complicated, because you spend like 2 years, 3 years on a project, and when you don't feel that ready to show it, it's always very stressful, and especially in Cannes, where I didn't feel like my film was totally finished, and that's the fact, because I cut out 17 minutes from the version from Cannes to this one, and so I was very terrified in Cannes. So I don't know if I was really open to the reaction of the audience, but last night I didn't sit through the entire movie, but I stayed for the first 20 minutes and I came back for the last 15. And I was really surprised and curious to see that the reaction, there was some laughs and some reaction in the audience that we didn't have in France. And I understand that it's also a question of culture, and I was surprised to see how the crowd, the audience was more alive, you know. So I was quite happy to see the reaction last night, and it was good for me to see that, you know.
You slept well then.
And I slept better, not that well, but better.
One last question. No, that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. One as usual. Yes.
Thank you very much for the last question. So, since Toronto is the place where the Academy Awards movies are released, I wonder what it means to you to be known as an Academy Award winner. What is like a novel title? What was that experience like?
Well, of course, it's a noble title, but I'm, you know, it's an experience in my life, like it's an experience in an actor's life when he gotta be honored by his peers, and but I don't see myself as an Oscar winner. I just see myself as an actress who has still a lot to learn, and who's really looking forward to learn more. Each time I take on a role, I know that as I said before, I know that I'm going to learn a little more about us, and that it will open my heart a little more, and that's what is important. Voila.
Well, keeping our fingers crossed. All the best. Thank you very much for being here.
And thank you to you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you very much. Merci. Merci. Merci.